It is the one, the only Shannon Q calling in to Truth Wanted. Shannon, what's going on?
Hi, how you doing? I'm good. I love you
good.
both. I'm calling in to fangirl about Autumn because I love her so much. You're all right too, Dan. You're okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
You're 95% okay.
That's higher than, yeah, okay. I'll take it, yeah.
That's higher than I generally give you. You're right.
Yeah.
So I have a couple options for you, essentially. So several things came up during the show. I've been listening start to finish that I thought were interesting, and I wanted to talk to you guys more about because I'm incredibly selfish and I want to have dialogues with you guys about
Sure.
So they're just like, so the first was the idea of the angry atheist, because I think that that's very interesting. And the second was the idea surrounding Jesus mythicism, because I think that that's an interesting concept. So I guess I'll let you guys pick which question.
Shannon, I think
spin the wheel.
I think the angry atheist thing is right up your alley. I think that's something you can speak to. So let's go with that.
Okay, I'm absolutely open to that because I think it's a really interesting concept to delve into. So I said in the live chat earlier, for anybody who's watching from the start, that it's been in the live chat or is watching later, that I went through a phase that I wasn't necessarily angry, although I think some of my behaviors maybe manifested as angry, because I was frustrated with myself because I felt foolish. I felt as though I was an idiot. I had been fooled. I had been duped by something, and how could it be that I was so trivially foolish as to not investigate something that was so paramount to so many portions of my perspective on how I view the world and interact with people, as to just assume it. So I went through a phase where I behaviorally was, in retrospect, attempting to prove to myself that I wasn't a moron, that I was in fact smart. And that came off as kind of caustic. So I'm wondering if that resonates with either of you, or because I didn't hear Autumn necessarily talk about that. And I know how brilliant Autumn is. So I was wondering if you might have some input.
Yeah, Autumn, you go first because I've been talking a lot.
Gosh, my story's so weird because I just wanted to feel happy at the point that I recognized my atheism, that I just didn't want to feel bad feelings. I've had moments where I felt angry, and I guess it more has been at the people who indoctrinated me, because I feel like this was not an angry atheist phase. These are like angry atheist moments, right? Excuse me, I'm having that demon voice thing again. Basically, I was more upset with the people who indoctrinated me, because I'm like, you should have known, and you should have maybe not been so strict in your structure of how you ran things in the house and how you talked about these things. There should have been more open-minded. I guess I've been more upset with that than myself. But I think because I spent so much time beating myself up as a Christian, that by the time I learned that I didn't have to do that anymore, like, oh, I don't have to beat myself up, I can just say, like, you know what, I'm a human and I'm learning. That was so relieving to me that I guess that's like a sucky answer to you, though, right? It's like, I can't relate.
No.
I want to say that I relate to not wanting to feel vulnerable. Like, I want to pick ideas that are to people, and I don't want to say something where I look like I don't know what I'm talking about, where I look vulnerable. And so I can relate to that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, to me, that's an informative answer, because I think there's a trope that all atheists kind of go through deconversion the same way, and it manifests the same way behaviorally. And that's why there is this trope about this sort of angry atheist phase. And even when I went through the phase, I don't see that I was necessarily angry. It's just, in retrospect, I was hyper vigilant in attempting to engage in these dialogues and prove what I knew now, because I felt foolish, but I wasn't angry. I wasn't attempting to, you know, assert that I had a deference and intellect that needed to be recognized. It was more so that I wanted to prove to myself that I could demonstrate these arguments. And it sounds to me as though you're saying that this was, you know, from a psychological perspective, kind of a relief to you, because you had gone through this indoctrination cycle where you'd already had these internal feelings that you know, should be ashamed of yourself, or that you weren't smart, or that you weren't getting things, or that your dissonance regarding the subject matter was somehow a reflection on your intellect. And it was a source of relief for you instead. So I think that the juxtaposition between our perspectives is actually an important message, because it shows that there is not just one type of deconversion, and that all of them are really important to talk about, because not everybody's going to relate to the deconversion story of somebody else and how they dealt with it. So I appreciate you sharing that, actually, and being honest.
Yeah, you're wonderful, Nin.
No, I'm not. You are. That's why I'm calling, because I love you so much. And Dan's okay.
Yeah. Again, I'll take it. It's fine.
Yeah,
But
Dan's winner.
I'll finish by saying my piece about it, and then we'll have to wrap things up. But yeah, I think that it's relatable to me in the sense that, yeah, I did feel like I've been duped, but I think the anger really came from just realizing, oh, there's other people out there that are getting duped by this, you know, like, because like from my perspective, I wasn't even in it as deep as some other people. Like, yeah, I was in it. I mean, I guess it depends on who you talk to. I was in it pretty deep compared to some people, but like, I wasn't a young earth creationist. I wasn't somebody who dedicated 30 years of their life as a missionary. You know, like there's tons of these stories that you hear, and it's like, wow, like they did it based on, you know, from my perspective, what would be false pretenses, because someone either consciously lied to them or unconsciously lied to them about something being true. Either way, it's still wrong in my eyes. And that's something that I want to fix. I want to talk about this. I want to see what other people think about this, because a part of my deconversion was learning a lot of information about Christianity, about the Bible, about science, about history, that I didn't have before. And I sincerely do believe that if people had that same information that I did, then they would change their minds too. But you got to know the right people to get that, because it's not like they're teaching that in schools or anything like that, which is, yeah. They don't, if they do talk about, you know, religion and stuff, it's usually because they're breaking the United States law, at least at the public schools, or you're going to some private school that has its own curriculum, and you know, who knows what it says in there. I can't tell you. I grew up in the public school system, but I've definitely heard stories about stuff being in textbooks that I don't think should be in textbooks. So I don't know. That's my take.
Yeah. That conversations like this are super valuable in my mind, because there's so many assertions and judgments of motivation that are levied at atheists, generally speaking, regarding their reasons for deconversion. And they're also front loaded with the assumption that all atheists deconverted. There are people who just were atheists also from the get-go. And there's so many different psychological, rational, and emotional motivations that go into the history that leads up to deconversion, or the history that made somebody, you know, or not made somebody, but that means that somebody is an atheist. And the more people have these types of dialogues surrounding, you know, what it means to them, how they got there, the less likely it is that when somebody hears one of those tropes, that it's going to resonate with them. And the more likely it is that they're going to have some sort of dissonance, because they've seen a conversation like this and know that the three of us have very different stories, and how we reacted to it is different. And that when somebody levies the reason you're an atheist is at them or other people, even as a theist looking at these types of dialogues, that it's a manipulation strategy that's being utilized to obfuscate the actual point of the issue, and as kind of an ad hominem against the person in the conversation, so that they can imbue motives upon them that undermine their ultimate point. So I appreciate you guys having the dialogue. Sorry I feel as though I just need to stop with like trying to be on every ACA show, but the dialogues are so amazing. Such amazing guests, and I just am selfish.
Don't stop.
Yeah, don't stop, Shannon. You're always more than welcome to call back anytime.
No,
And of
we
course,
love
I
it.
appreciate you watching. We love you, Shannon. Thanks for calling tonight. Really appreciate you. And I hope to talk to you again soon. But for now, we're wrapping up this episode of Truth Wanted. But don't go away just yet, folks, because if you want to talk to me and my awesome guest, Autumn, we, pointing over here, we are about to go on to the ACA Discord. So come join us on there for our special after show. But in case you're going to miss it because you're not watching this live, Autumn, where can people find you at?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, Notes from Autumn, and then I have a handle there for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.